I'd like to call this meeting of the Northwest Local School District Board of Education to order. Chris, if you would please call the roll.
Mr. Unger.
Here.
Mr. Harlow.
Here.
Mr. Heather.
Here.
Mrs. Detzel. Here. Mr. Detzel.
Here.
If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of minutes, Mr. Bowling.
The Treasurer and Superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the minutes as listed.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, approve June 22nd minutes.
The Treasurer and Superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the minutes as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a legislative update. Mr. Harlow.
The state budget passed was signed into law by Governor Kasich last week. It does improve our financial situation ever so slightly. It wasn't as good as we thought maybe it would be in some of the other versions of the budget that were passed. And the State Board of Education continues to grapple with several issues, but one of them is the proposed ballot amendment that would legalize marijuana. That's going to cause us to rethink some of our policies, as I talked about last week. If it does pass, there's a chance to that this could go on for a long time. With a lot of legal wrangling could be involved because the state legislature is also trying to preempt special interest ballot initiatives, which may also have an effect on how things proceed for us. But those are the two main things really coming out of Columbus right now.
Michael's the session over?
It's over for the summer. The legislature will return probably in September.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harlow. The next item is Butler Tech update. Mr. Detzel.
Yeah, Dan, just a couple of things. The bioscience building, they're starting to move in all the equipment in everything, and they'll be ready to go first day of school, which is, I think at Butler Tech, it's the second week of August. Is that when they start? I believe it is. And then if anybody out there is interested, our treasurer, after 34 years, is retiring. So there's an opening for a treasurer at Butler Tech, if anybody's interested. That's it.
That's exciting that they're moving in a month. Do you think they're ready, or there's going to be a lot of stuff going on the next month?
If any of you board members want to get a tour, just let me know and we'll set it up ahead of time.
Probably be a good idea
Yeah.
to get in there. Are they having an opening
Yeah,
day
it's gonna be
ceremony?
after school, I think, in the end of August.
All right, great. Thanks, Jim. Next item is report from employee organizations. Is there anyone here from a certificated or licensed employee group that would like to speak? Seeing no one. A report from classified employee organization. Is there anyone here from a classified employee organization that would like to speak? Seeing no one. Report from school-related organizations. Is there anyone here from a school-related organization that would like to speak? We'll move on to community communications. I have one card from Dexter Carpenter would like to speak about natural resources.
I use that term natural resources. In this case, I'm talking about the teachers, the coaches, bus drivers, everyone that is in this community is aiding and for our community to be a better community. In this case, I'm talking about a wrestling coach who, not because I coached him, but I've watched him grow up to be a phenomenal young man. He was a captain on my wrestling team. He actually followed me to Maine for a while, and then became the head wrestling coach at Northwest. I just found that out that he resigned in that position. And I guess my concern is when we have young people, we're trying to build a community, we're trying to get legends past people who commit to it, because Mr. Matthew could have coached anywhere and taught him. Went back to school, got his degree. He could have stayed and waited me out over at Dayton in a program that he helped me build. But he chose to come back. We had a serious meeting about it. And I said, man, only people like me and you care about Northwest as a coach. And he went on and got his teaching degree. I said, otherwise they're going to keep going to coaches. For the record, I've been gone from Northwest 10 years, and now this is our fourth coach going. And he cared that much. I felt that the administrators, which is the assistant principals and the principal and the athletic director, didn't have a vision and realized that he has to have a job to be the coach. And he was part of taking on a job or applying for a job that he was overqualified for. But he still was willing to take the pay cut and everything to be part of this system. And for us to send him to the wind, that's why I refer to the natural resources. We don't protect the people that are already here, that already put the time in. This goes over the ups and downs and the negatives and the positives. That's the people we want to stay here. And you see that you're a new superintendent. You obviously have that vision. And for them to lack that vision and giving some statement, oh, he only lost by 1 point, or he was in a tie. A coach and a teacher is different. Now, I coach, and I've been blessed enough to be able to get a coach and work in the school that I'm in. And I also vote for you guys. But that doesn't often happen. I have to make a living. Have to make a living, take care of family, but put in the extra time that to coach and help really take kids to the next level. I mean, that is so important. He was given to the school, and for us to send him to the wind. You know, we just lost another good person, superintendent. We lost the treasurer before that. And I don't see where we're going. Why don't we see the viability of those natural resources? Why don't we grab a hold of them and say, hey, stay here? And when those kids go out, many a parent that came and said the kid went off to school, came back, applied, didn't even get an interview. Why wouldn't those people that we want back in our community that want to stay there? Otherwise, we get influx. I mean, like crying about this place and that place, moving in a district, staying there a couple years and leaving. Well, no, they're not going to go for it. They don't care. They have nothing invested. I just hope that, we have a better vision for the future when we do this.
Dexter, where did he get a job at? Where's he at?
We went to Oak Hills as an assistant, as a head coach. I mean, one of the reasons when we had...
And he got a job over there, making more money?
Like as a teacher?
As a teacher, he's a history teacher. He, obviously, more money in the position, he was the blended learning lab, but me and him talk. You don't know how... Because I said, I didn't want him to leave me as a coach. I wanted him to stay with me. And then I said, hey, 65, this program here, we started from scratch. It was nothing but they didn't even have a wrestling room done. I took the baby job. He came over to be with me. And then at one point I said, man, they went through another coach. And also asked me, our school is dying. That's why you don't even, I don't want to see my school Deer Park die. And I just think we have to have a better vision. We just got to. Otherwise, we're going to be dead in the water. And I'm serious. We're going to be literally dead in the water. And levies and all this, I think the difference in some of the ways I feel is that the key is people. It's not buildings, and it's not fancy computers and flashing lights and all that. It's the people. It's the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Dexter. Our next item is a fiscal item, Mr. Bowling.
Okay, what we have is an attachment for the financial reports of the treasurer. Amy, if you could have some clarification.
Yeah, this is for the month of May, and the reason we're just now approving May is because we've had 1 month board meeting, 1 meeting per month for the past couple months, so we should have June later in the month of July, and we'll be all caught up.
Okay.
The treasurer and superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the financial reports as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion's approved, 5-0.
Next, we have certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations. In the attachment, you have 1 administrative resignation and 7 certificated resignations, 3 extra duty resignations, and 3 procedural extra duty resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0.
Next category is classified personnel, classified retirements and resignations. The approval of 2 acceptance of classified resignations. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified retirements and resignations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0.
The next item is the district handbook for student activities. Looking for approval of the student activity handbook that was brought to you on June 8th for information. Superintendent Treasurer recommends the Board of Education approve the district student activities handbook as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? And I would comment, as we discussed, Mr. Bowling, that when we had that June 8th meeting, we spent a good part of that meeting encouraging people to read this and the other books, and they're all online and available for people to read. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call a vote. The handbook is approved, 5-0. Next item.
Next item is fiscal year 15 final appropriations. Treasurer and Superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the final appropriations for fiscal year 2015 as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item.
Next item is resolution declaring the necessity of levying an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation. I'll turn this over.
This is a resolution letting the county auditor know we have a necessity for our building bonds and the operating levy that we wanted to do, and so it's for them to certify the millage. Then we could do the resolution to proceed at the next meeting.
I'm sorry.
Superintendent Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve resolution declaring the necessity of levying additional tax in excess of the 10 million limitation as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I would like to add that this is less millage than earlier in May, and this will actually, when it shows up on your tax bill, will actually be less than every property owner in the district's currently paying. Is that correct?
The millage is less what will happen on their tax bill will depend on their,
Depends on other factors, but not this factor.
Including if their property is revalued.
correct. But this millage is less than what they're currently, the millage rate is less than what they're currently paying.
And what's there right now expires December 31st, and this would start January 1st.
And just to reiterate too, I believe that at our last election, it was 4.33 down from 4.55. And this new one is going to be 3.89. So you can see the significance where it'll be safe, where we can advertise that will not raise your taxes. If I mean, last time none of us really knew when we were saying that, but this time for sure, because we did go through the county, Amy, and found out from them what level we had to be at, and we made up the balance with cash reserves. And we compromised when Mr. McVeigh was here that night, and took a little more from reserves than he thought we should, or whatever. I forgot how we did that. But I just want to make sure that on our signs we can say will not raise your taxes.
This will not raise, this will include all the credits.
Okay. Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Resolution passes 5-0. Next item.
Next item is a resolution authorizing the issuance of school improvement general obligation refunding bonds. I will turn this one also over to Amy.
This is a resolution to authorize the refunding or like refinancing of the Montford Heights building bonds. What it'll do is it will lower the interest rate and save our community about $800,000 over the life of the bonds.
How many years are left, Amy?
I want to say 7,
And we're saving,
27 years.
Amy, by doing this, we're saving the district $800,000, the taxpayers,
The taxpayers, yes.
by doing this. It's about 100 about $115,000 a year, give or take.
Well,
Or is that 800,000 a year?
No, over the life of the
Okay,
bond.
so it's
but
about 115 a year for 7 years.
It may not be per year. It may be the county, it depends on what the county auditor wants to assess, and they may just reduce the final assessment. But
Okay.
still, over the life of the bonds, it'll be $800,000 left to be paid.
Okay.
Right, and I believe that started out as 25 million, and now it's down to 8,720,000. So we've retired 16,280.
And I think it expires like at 27.
I mean, we've retired $16,280,000 of that debt so far, theoretically. Is there any other discussion? Or we need a motion, we need you to call for a
Superintendent and Treasurer recommends that the Board of Education approve the resolution authorizing the issuance of school improvement general obligation refunding bonds.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Fiscal item.
The
Mr.
next
Bowles.
item, accept and appropriate federal and state grants. Every year at this time, we need board approval to accept and appropriate federal grant funds. The amounts and grants are listed in the attachment. Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve to accept and appropriate federal and state grants as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Todd, how does this compare to last year?
I'd have to rely on Jenny for that one.
Still slightly lower.
Pretty much flat funding, but just slightly lower
Okay.
returns, but it's really not a final allocation. They usually come back and change it over the next couple months.
Okay. Till you get the check, you probably don't really know. Okay, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a fiscal item.
The approval of petty cash and change funds for fiscal year 2016. This item is for issuance of our petty cash to our buildings for their day-to-day activities. The Treasurer and Superintendent recommend the Board of Education approve the petty cash and change funds for the fiscal year 2016 as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is another fiscal item.
Vendor contracts for authorization. This is needed approval per Ohio Revised Codes 3313.33 and a list of our vendor contracts. The Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the vendor contracts as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Another fiscal item, Mr. Bowling.
This item is to accept the final amended Certificate of Estimated Resources. Amy, I'll turn this one over to you.
The County Budget Commission certifies our estimated revenue and cash balances, which is our estimated resources. And so at the end of the year, they take our final numbers and certify them. And this is so the board could accept the amounts that the County Budget Commission has approved.
The Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education accept the final amended Certificate of Estimated Resources as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I do have something in it. I would have asked ahead of time if I had caught it when I was looking through everything, but it says at the top, Budget Commission, Hamilton County hereby makes the following amended official certificate, so on and so forth, for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014.
Because this is the end.
Okay.
We're doing year-end close, so that's for the fiscal year 15, which starts July 1st of 14 and ends June 30th, 2015.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, Chris? The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a general business item, Mr. Bowling.
At the last board meeting on June 8th, the Transportation Handbook was provided. I am seeking approval of the transportation handbook as listed. So the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 transportation handbook as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a certificated licensed personnel item, Mr. Bowling.
Yes, the next item, certificated licensed personnel items, is the approval of 3 initial administrative appointments, approval of 8 initial teacher appointments, the approval of 1 administrative change in status, the approval of 5 teacher change in status, approval of 3 extended administrative service contracts, the approval of 1 extended counselor service contract, the approval of 6 curriculum summer workers, and the approval for 3 human resources summer workers. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the certificated licensed personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0.
Before we move to the next item, I'd like to turn it over to Stephanie Kessling, who will introduce Heidi Stickney.
Northwest Local School District would like to welcome Heidi Stickney as the Assistant Director of Curriculum and Special Education. Heidi comes to us from Princeton School District, where she served as Director of Special Education. Prior to that, she was the Coordinator of Student Services for Loveland City Schools from 2009 to 2012, and the Student Services Manager in Cincinnati Public Schools from 2003 to 2009. Heidi has a bachelor's degree from Bowling Green State University and a master's degree from Miami University. Heidi is supported tonight by her husband Kent, her son Grady, and her daughter Riley. Please join me in welcoming Heidi to her new role.
Thank
I
you.
would also like to take time to mention one other administrative change in status, and that is with Stephanie Kessling sitting with us tonight. She has moved from Assistant Director of Human Resources to our Director of Human Resources. She did an outstanding job as an assistant, and it was an easy choice for her to move up. So I'd like to welcome Stephanie.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That would take us to a new board policy, health insurance portability, Mr. Bowling.
Yes, the next item is a new board policy, GBT, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability, HIPAA. It was presented at the June 8th board meeting. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the board policy GBT as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Certificated licensed personnel item, Mr. Bowling.
Our next subject is 2015-2016 Certificated and Licensed Staff Handbook. This was also presented at the June 8th board meeting. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 Certificated and Licensed Staff Handbook as listed.
So moved.
Second?
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Next item, certificated licensed personnel item.
The next item is Assistant Director of Curriculum and Instructional Accountability job description. This is a new job description that will allow us to tie our data with our curriculum and continually give our administrators and teachers data that will drive all curriculum and instructional teaching strategies. Data will no longer be separate from the curriculum department, as it has not been, and we really made those changes last year, but it will continue to be an integral part of every decision we make regarding improving student achievement. So what you have is an attachment that lists the qualifications for the Assistant Director of Curriculum and Instructional Accountability.
Did you want a motion on that?
Yes, this is for info and action. I was just giving you time to look at it. This was a late addition. So the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the Assistant Director of Curriculum and Instructional Accountability job description as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a classified personnel item.
Yes, for our next item, you have 3 initial appointments, 3 approvals of summer employments, and 6 approval of changes in status. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the classified personnel items as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Another classified personnel item.
The next is the 2015-2016 Classified Staff Handbook. This was presented at the June 8th board meeting. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 Classified Staff Handbook as listed.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Classified personnel item, Mr. Bowling.
Yes, the next item is a Director of Business Operations job description. It's a new job description created for my replacement, the Director of Business Operations. Seeking experience in running businesses, public or private, no requirements for educational administrative experience. We are looking for relative school experience. This is in an effort to reduce the responsibilities of this position. Evaluation of principals will be removed from that. And we are looking and currently interviewing for this position. So this is a job description, and a little later on you will see the salary that is attached to it.
So moved.
The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the Director of Business Operations job description as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Todd, what is the BSC certification?
Building operations certification. So they are trained in how to manage all supplies that come into the building, water and electric, how to manage them, how much is coming in, how to reduce the amount we spend on those. It's just an overall certification program. It takes about a year, about 10 classes, and it is required.
Okay. But they can do the job while they're completing the education?
They can if they don't have it, but the folks who applied for this position most have it, yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item is a curriculum and instruction item.
Yes, the next item, 2015-2016 Credit Flexibility Handbook. It was presented at the June 8th board meeting. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 Credit Flexibility Handbook as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Another curriculum and instruction item. Mr. Bowling?
Yes, we're getting ready to hand over a series of handbooks to be presented. They were attached and presented at the June 8th board meeting, so if you have seen them, I just want to remind them what we're doing. Next one is the 2015-2016 Grading and Reporting Handbook K through 8, as presented June 8th. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 Grading and Reporting Handbook K through 8 as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I would just add these have all been posted for almost a month now for people to look at. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0. Our next item.
Next item is 2015-2016 Field Trip Handbook. Superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 Field Trip Handbook as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0.
Next item is the 2015-2016 High School Program of Studies Handbook. It was presented at the June 8th board meeting. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 High School Program of Studies Handbook as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Our next item.
2015-2016 Home Instruction Handbook. It was presented at the June 8th board meeting also. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 Home Instruction Handbook as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Our student services.
2015-2016 Student Handbook is the next item. As presented June 8th board meeting, superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the 2015-2016 Student Handbook as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. The motion carries 5-0.
The next item is revised board policies JFC, Code of Conduct, and JFC-P, Student Conduct. As presented at the June 8th board meeting, the superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the board policies JFC and JFC-P as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Chris, please call a vote. Motion carries 5-0. Classified personnel information.
The Director of Business Operations salary schedule is attached. It goes along with the new job description that was approved earlier. The superintendent recommends the Board of Education accept the Director of Business Operations salary schedule as listed.
So moved.
Second.
That did not get put in as an action.
Separate
Get
information.
that separately, so.
Okay.
we do
Do we want to amend the agenda to put that in?
Might be good so that
I
candidates.
can do it after the fact, we can just do a normal vote.
Okay.
If Todd's interviewing, I think people need to know that the
The
salary.
sooner the better will be.
I think we should probably motion to amend the agenda and then motion to pass this.
Sure.
Okay,
Do I have a
I
motion to amend the
motion
agenda?
That we amend the agenda to change the issue on salary scale for business operations director from an information to an action item.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Take a voice vote to amend the agenda and then go ahead and approve it. So you want to call a voice vote?
Sure. Mr. Unger?
Aye?
Mr. Harlow?
Aye.
Mr. Heather?
Aye.
Mrs. Detzel?
Aye.
Mr. Detzel?
Aye.
And now probably ask for a motion to approve it.
The superintendent recommends the Board of Education approve the salary schedule for the Director of Business Operations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Chris, please call a vote.
Mr. Unger?
Aye?
Mr. Harlow?
Aye.
Mr. Heather?
Aye.
Mrs. Detzel?
Aye.
Mr. Detzel?
Aye.
Next item, curriculum and instruction.
Yes, textbook recommendation for German 4. This is an information item.
Tonight we have a book or a set of books that the curriculum department is recommending for our German 4 class. In the past, the German 4 has used the German 3 textbooks, but our students are kind of progressing at the level where the German teacher felt like we needed a new book that would meet their needs. I'll admit, I have many talents, German is not one. I relied heavily on our a specialist in the area of English language arts who works with our foreign language teachers, as well as our German teacher and a parent who have reviewed the materials and recommended them for us. So if you want to take that with you and take a look at it, you're welcome. If not, you can just leave it here and it'll come back at the next meeting for approval. I think we have about 6 or 7 students who may be enrolled next year in German.
I think it's a great opportunity. As you might recall, we had a German exchange student live in our home for a year, and she actually sends papers over to me because she's studying to be an English teacher in Germany, so sometimes I get to read her work. So I think it's a great course offering. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. It's a student services information item.
Yes, this is our harassment, intimidation, and bullying year-end report. This is required that we provide for you each year. There was a total of 3 semester 1 allegations, and semester 2 of the school year there was 1 allegations verified, 0.
And this is a report that we're required to provide to the state, I believe, semi-annually, perhaps?
Yes, correct.
And I think it's harassment or bullying if it happens a second time.
Each time we get a harassment or bullying report, by law, we have to investigate it, document, give the parents and the student a chance to fill out the correct paperwork. We advise them where to get the paperwork, or we hand it to them. If they complete it and fill it back, an investigation is completed, and then we give them our results.
So these are the numbers of reports that,
Actually got handed in to us.
okay, not the,
Only one second.
not the number of phone calls you got.
Correct.
That is correct.
And our administrators check into every complaint.
All right. Any other comments? We'll move on to the next item. It's an information item for student services.
Next one is Northwest Notables. I'll turn this over to Pauletta Crowley.
I have 3 items this evening that are notables that we'd like to share with you. The Young Adult Library Services Association, which is a division of the American Library Association, has announced the recipients of its 2015 Teens Top 10 book giveaway. The recipients will be receiving a set of 2015 Teens Top 10 nominees through the generous funding from the Dollar General Literacy Foundation. The nominee list is comprised of 2014 acclaimed young adult titles ranging from a multitude of different genres. Northwest High School is one of the nationwide recipients, and due to their media library specialist Bethany Miller, they have received this award the last few years, which has enhanced the Northwest High School Library tremendously. So we have a special thanks to librarian Bethany Miller, Dollar General Literacy Foundation, for this terrific opportunity to build our Northwest High School Library with books that our young adults enjoy. Congratulations goes to 5th grade Coleraine Elementary teacher Amy Smith for receiving the 2015 Celebrate Teaching Distinguished Educator Award given by Battelle for Kids. This award is given to teachers who demonstrate evidence of great teaching in multiple ways, including academic, non-cognitive, and community measures. Mrs. Smith represents the district as a distinguished educator for the class of 2015. She was honored in Columbus along with teachers from all districts who are members of the SOAR Collaborative. Colin Clymer, principal at Coleraine Elementary, accompanied her to that banquet. So we congratulate Amy on her accomplishment. And then finally, while most students have been enjoying summer vacation, 4 rising seniors at Northwest High School, Philip Son, Sierra Duffy, Amin El Quazim, and Mason Fawcett, participated in a 3-week summer program at the University of Cincinnati called Today's Learners, Tomorrow's Leaders. The course was sponsored by the UC Economic Center and allowed exceptional students from high schools all across the city to earn 3 college credits for a microeconomics course at UC. Important economic concepts were taught in the classroom, and then the students visited local businesses to see the concepts in action. This year they visited the senior management of the Cincinnati Reds, Michelman City, Northern Kentucky headquarters, Sherseal, and Kings Island. The program concluded on June 26th with a recognition program and a reception for them. We want to thank the Northwest High School Financial Services teacher, Mr. Peter Clark, who continues to encourage his students to take advantage of opportunities such as the UC Economics class. He has inspired his students for years with his teaching. Congratulations to these Northwest students on a job well done, and special thanks to Mr. Peter Clark. Thank you.
Thank you, Pauletta. Our next item is community communications. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question or comment about anything that was specifically discussed this evening? Seeing no one, we'll move on to our next item, which is board items. Mr. Detzel.
Dan, I don't have any tonight.
Mr. Heater.
Well, just welcome to Ms. Stephanie, and I want to congratulate Todd once again. Todd, you performed up here like you've done it many times before. So we hope you know what you're getting yourself into. Not all board meetings are quite so smooth, but welcome to you again, and we're glad you're here.
Mr. Harlow?
I'd like to welcome Todd to the superintendent chair, to the hot seat, and also welcome Stephanie up here as well, and look forward to working with both of you.
Mrs. Detzel?
I'll just echo what the other two said.
And I would like to congratulate a member of Colerain's football team who successfully located my residence today and sold us a Colerain fundraiser booster card. So we can now get a free oil change and chicken wings at the local restaurant, but that's one of the things about being on the board. I'm sure they all know where the Detzels live and the Harlows live and the Heaters live also. So soon they'll be...
We had 4 knock at our door.
Not that they don't
last
know
year.
where everybody else lives, Stephanie. You probably need to give them your home residence information. So, but I think we're all glad to support the programs in whatever way we can. So we will move on to executive session.
The board will approve a motion to move into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and to conference with an attorney concerning disputes that are subject to pending or imminent court action. Superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the motion to move into executive session as listed.
So moved.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Do you think we'll be taking action at the end of this? Okay, did you have a
I was
discussion?
going to say, because it said action, I didn't know if we wanted to leave that open in case we needed to, or just...
Sure, and if not, we'll just come back and dismiss the meeting, or adjourn the meeting. Any other comments?
Do we have to announce we're changing the time of the next meeting?
Yes.
I think we can, yeah, we probably do, but did we vote on this
We have
first?
talked about changing the time of the July 13th meeting. We are going to have personnel items to approve for hiring. July 10th is a big deadline for the district, as that is the last time that folks can get out of their contract. So we will need a 7:30 a.m. board meeting, if that's okay with you, or if you'd like to go earlier or a little later, I can do whatever. But July 13th would be moved to a morning meeting.
It's fine.
7:30 is fine.
7:30.
Pretty quick.
Okay, and then our meeting on the 27th will remain at
We'll
7
remain
o'clock.
at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And we will bring in our state qualifiers for spring sports at that time for recognition. State winners.
Is there any other discussion, or shall we ask Chris to take a vote on moving to executive session? The vote is 5-0. And I will, so the next item will be when we end executive session, so that's where we're going now. Thank you all for coming and spending your evening with us. You're welcome to hang around. I'm not sure how long we'll be back there.